Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a fantastic show for you today. I'm Amisha Cross, filling in for Robbie Suave. I'm joined remotely by the amazing Batya Ungar-Sargon. Batya, good to be with you this morning and love the dress. What do we have planned for today?
It's so great to be here with you, Amisha. I'm so excited for today's show. Our Rising panel will get into the details of what some are calling Twitter's Thursday Night Massacre. You will not want to miss that. Plus, Reason Magazine's Liz Wolfe is back, and she will join us later to discuss new developments in the arrest of FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried. But first, is Elon Musk stepping down as head of Twitter? The embattled chief Twit polled users in a tweet last night and pledged to abide by the results, which, as of this morning, lean firmly yes. Apparently unhappy with the poll's outcome, Musk later posted, as the saying goes, be careful what you wish, you might get it.
This latest development comes after a weekend of high-profile suspensions and reinstatements. While Musk haphazardly implemented updated content moderation policies regarding doxing, as well as linking to Twitter's competitors. We'll get into those changes later. For now, Batya, what do you think? Have the people spoken, and should Musk step down?
You know, Elon Musk did something I thought that was very admirable last night. He apologized for implementing a whole bunch of new policies that Twitter immediately walked back, one of which was banning accounts that use Twitter to promote their social media accounts on other social media platforms. Crazy. Also, he banned a whole bunch of journalists who he accused of doxing his real-time location, although most of them had not done that. And then he banned Taylor Lawrence, apparently for having doxed somebody on a completely different platform months and months and months ago. So he had a very difficult, challenging weekend in which I think he was revealed to in the light of a sort of petty tyrant using Twitter, which he now owns, to wreak vengeance and exact, revenge against journalists who were reporting on him unfavorably. And I was really impressed that he apologized. I mean, it's not really the kind of thing you expect because his behavior this whole weekend had been so Trumpian. And so I have to say I was impressed by the apology. I was impressed by the Twitter poll. I like his idea of now taking big decisions to the people, to the users. I think that's a really smart idea. But what did you think, Amisha? What was your reaction to the whole weekend?
It was more exciting, I think, than actually the World Cup, because you never knew where he was going, and it seemed like he was attacking everybody. He jumped into a Twitter Spaces to basically defend himself in some radical action, and then jumped out of Twitter Spaces, then totally deleted Twitter Spaces completely so nobody could ever use it again, and then brought it back. There was a lot going on here, and to your point, I think Elon Musk is kind of a petty prince. He has decided that he is going to do exactly what he said that he wouldn't or that he was against. This is a guy who talked about being a First Amendment absolutionist. He believed so heartedly that people should be able to speak their minds in this free public space or public square and not really have repercussions. Meanwhile, it seems like he only believes that if those people actually agree with him and are not being critical of him or his actions. This is also a guy who I think I don't want to give too much credit to in terms of his apology, because the reason it came about is Tesla, quite frankly. He is watching shareholders have a real problem with the actions that he is exhibiting on Twitter. He is watching monetarily this go down the tubes. He is acknowledging that Twitter, quite frankly, may go bankrupt sooner rather than later. And he is also, he said weeks ago that he was thinking about appointing a CEO that wasn't him, which should have been done a while ago, considering how bad this has taken off. But I think that the whole, we're going to let the public kind of vote on this, it's a little bit after the fact at this point, because to your point earlier, saying that you don't want to have or creating a rule where people on Twitter can't promote any of their activities or appearances or anything that they do on YouTube or on Facebook or on Instagram. He left out TikTok, which is a very important thing here. We know of his cozy relationship with China, so TikTok was not a part of that conversation. But he also was only going to create a policy, not necessarily to ban everyone from making those connections or from putting them on Twitter, but to financially gain money because of it. So the other part of that was that he was going to no longer allow them to do it for free. Remember, he is still trying to monetize as much as he can off of Twitter, meanwhile tanking it with every tweet.
Could not agree more about the China point. I think it's a really important one that doesn't get brought up enough. It seems to me like Musk is sort of has three competing sets of needs when it comes to owning Twitter. Like you said, he has to turn a profit. He's sunk billions of his own money into this. He's lost billions and billions of dollars in the last 6 months over this. He has to, from his point of view, I think it is imperative that Twitter become a profitable business. He also, I think, believes in his heart of hearts that free speech is important and, that there should be more free speech on Twitter's platform. And I think that he, like many of us, even those of us not on the right, was pretty horrified by how intense the censorship of conservatives has been. And then there's the sort of the third prong of this, which is, his need to be the center of attention and to be a sort of petty drama queen at all moments, and his love of taking on the media and being, in the headlines in this sort of very Trumpy way. So, and those, of course, all come in tension with each other, right? The free speech absolutism would demand that you allow somebody to be on the platform tweeting swastikas. Of course, turning a profit is very much in tension with that because big advertisers do not want their product advertised next to swastikas, right? There's a real tension there. And of course, like exactly as you pointed out, that tension between being a drama queen, living for that rush, you get the serotonin rush of like being at the center of every, the trending topic on Twitter, that gets very much in the way of turning a profit, not just on Twitter, but exactly like you said, Tesla, SpaceX, he has a lot of other business interests. So I think that those three competing sets of needs, navigating that has been very challenging for him, as it would be for anybody. And so I'm trying to sort of understand this to the best of my ability and extend him the most credit as somebody who's been very critical. I think that the way that he took on Bari Weiss, for example, was so telling. Bari Weiss was one of two journalists, Bari Weiss and Matt Taibbi, who was given extensive access to Twitter in order to expose these Twitter files, some of which we, sort of confirming what we knew. There was a lot of new information there, how much Twitter capitulated to the FBI's requests for censorship and information. A lot of interesting stuff came out there. But Bari Weiss very bravely, I think, came out against the suspensions of these journalists. And Musk did not take kindly to the fact that this journalist who he had, invited into his home then took a stand against censorship. And, he sort of, accused her of trying to curry favor with the left, which, she's the last person who would do that. And then he promptly unfollowed her. Again, very Trumpy behavior in terms of not the kind of thing you would expect from someone who billed himself as the avatar of free speech in America.
No, you're absolutely right. For someone who is seemingly following the playbook of former President Trump, who called the press enemies of the people, we're now seeing that same type of behavior from Elon Musk, and it's quite frankly saddening.
Yeah, I will just say one more thing, which is that his behavior, we could judge that. The thing the hypocrisy he's exposed on, among leftist journalists, I think that was a real public service. So, these people who had themselves been the ones demanding that people be deplatformed, that people have their accounts suspended, often successfully demanding that of the previous Twitter regime, these leftist journalists were now in the position of demanding free speech, demanding that they be allowed to have their say, and conversely on the right, the people who had been decrying the censorship of Twitter under the old regime were here cheering Musk on for deleting the account, for suspending the accounts of their perceived enemies. And so he really, it just exposed the total hypocrisy on both sides, that people really will use a principle like the First Amendment, which is most important when it comes to your enemies, right? It is most important to protect the speech of your enemies, how each side will use that only to protect their own. And I think that in a way was a public service, exposing that hypocrisy by the corporate media, because so many people experience that on a daily basis. And I can understand the schadenfreude that a lot of people on the right felt at seeing these people get banned, although the real people to follow are the people who were saying, look, I get the schadenfreude, but this is still wrong.
You're right, Bacha, and everybody wants an account suspended until it's theirs.
Yes.
Looking forward to your radar coming up next.